guys must be wondering what the hell I'm doing. Let me show you. So we're under my 240 here. This is an East Coast Nissan, which should tell you enough right there about what's going on. So when I bought this car, I knew there was a little bit of rust in the floor pan, but I didn't realize how rusty it actually was until I pulled the carpet off and started tapping away with a hammer. So my new floor pan, thanks to my boy Clark putting in absolute work for me, rebuilt a floor pan for me on the whole driver's side. It's not finished. This is just the rough install, pretty much, I guess you could say. We needed a new frame rail. He did up a new piece of the frame rail there with some thicker plate. Once he's done welding and tying the interior floor into the underside floor here, what we're looking at, then I can go ahead and seam seal everything and clean it up and get it ready for paint. What I'm working on currently is removing all the old undercoat off the chassis. Can't really see that, but gunking up the oscillating saw real good. But no, this is brutal. Thankfully the car was undercoated though, or the whole thing would probably be rotten and it would be pretty much a write-off. So I don't know how the driver's side ended up so bad compared to the passenger side. The passenger side, there's really nothing wrong with it. A little bit of rust right here that I'm going to take care of, but other than that, it's really pretty good. So I don't know what happened with the driver's side. Again, just, I don't know, man. Just Nissan things, I guess. Thanks to Jimmy Oakes, I saw him and the crew stripping his FC RX-7, so gave me the idea why not. I should do mine too and do a nice Raptor liner under the whole chassis and protect it for years and years to come. But I don't really have a lift like they do and a team behind them, so it's just a one-man army here. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Thanks, Jimmy. If you ever see this video, thanks for the great idea to get all the undercoat off my car. I'm gonna thank myself in the long run, but at this point I'm wishing I didn't start. But once this is all Raptor liner and sealed up, it will be mint. You might also be thinking, Tyler, if that thing's so rusty, why don't you just scrap it? Well, these things are kind of rare, you know. There's not many of these things on the East Coast, you know. This one's just as rusty, but at least I have two. I can kind of make one good one, one decent one from two S chassis on the East Coast. So that's gonna be worth something, right? This one, I've never really seen under completely either, but when S chassis come up for sale for a good price, kind of just have to buy them. So buying a S chassis on the East Coast, you don't really have an option for a clean one. It's kind of just how much rust are you willing to take on. And in my case, I decided a lot is how much I wanted to take on, but we are slowly getting there. I took a break from working on this thing for about a year while we were in the process of buying a house and getting it all fixed up and everything, but we're back in action trying to get this thing done. Before I did stop working on it, I got the engine bay done for the most part, but now it's time to finish up all this metal work, get the floor pan done, get the underside of the chassis finished, and then I'll feel comfortable just moving along with everything else, because I think that's the hardest stuff pretty much. So, and then there's the fact that I gotta remember how to put this car back together, so that's also a big one. When I did the move, I kind of just threw everything in this car, and there's a bunch of stuff upstairs, and yeah, there's just parts everywhere. There's nuts and bolts I didn't label, so I made a big mistake on that part, not labeling everything and making sure I remember where everything goes. So it's gonna be fun to put back together, but we're not quite there yet. saw, we got all the suspension out of the 240 out of the rear. Now I'm gonna try to get this subframe out myself. I got all the bolts loose, they're ready to come out. I got it wiggling a little bit free from the chassis, so not really sure how I'm gonna go about this. I'm gonna throw the jack under, probably a block of wood or something just to hold it in place as I take the nuts off the studs that actually hold the subframe to the chassis. So yeah, we're gonna give this a go. Hopefully it doesn't fall on me. I'm gonna try to stay clear from underneath it as much as possible, but it should be fairly light, I would think, without like the knuckles and the control arms and all that, and the axles especially. The diff is still in there, so that will, yeah, so now that I think of that, it's gonna be pretty fucking heavy, I think, with the diff. So I was trying to get the diff out, but the two bolts that are in the rear here, they're kind of up above the, whatever the bottom part of the trunk is, so you can't really get a socket in there because the seam where the trunk comes down is lower than where the bolts are. So I can't really get a socket in there to remove them and then drop the diff, so I'm gonna just try to take the diff out with the subframe. And yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. Once I get the diff and subframe out, we're gonna try to get the gas tank out. Yeah, if there's another clip after this, that means I'm alive and it didn't crush me. So let's give it a go. So I've got to try to get this jack out because the board I'm using is too big and I have no idea what way this is going to fall. I'm going to get some more jacks. Oh, silky smooth. Silky smooth. Just like a Lindor chocolate. Oh my God, there we go. That's pretty good there. Actually, I have an idea to get this down. I will show you. Smaller jack stands. Under. Off that block. It's coming down. Oh, bit of a rough landing, but no biggie. It's like pulling a fish out of water, you know? Look at this. Ah, yes. Why is this size heavier? Ah! On the ground. Yes. Oh my God. That sucks. Oh, don't damage the tank. No. Don't damage the tank. It's not even on anything. Ready. Yes. Wow, that was not nearly as much fun as the subframe. Okay, let's check out what it looks like in the gas tank location. It's actually pretty clean to my surprise. So that would be all original factory metal coating. So that leads me to believe that this gas tank has never been out, but I'm still not 100% sure on that. The ending of the frame, or I guess this cross brace, whatever this is for the frame rails, this needs some attention for sure. It's getting pretty crappy. So all this is going to get wire wheeled anyways and cleaned up just like the rest of the chassis. This area obviously I don't need to work on too much, but we are going to put a rust preventative over top of it because you can see it spot rusting everywhere. Here's a hole in the, I guess this would be like the bucket seat of the rear. These gas tank straps need to be replaced. These are pretty crappy, especially this one. Might as well do it while we're under here because those look like a pain in the ass to change if the gas tank is in there, so may as well. And yeah, we're just gonna keep working our way back, getting off any old undercoating. You can see here, this is where Clark's new floor pan comes in. He tied it in right to this OEM part of the floor. That has rubberized undercoating on it, so that will all have to come off, and then I will get rid of all this factory paint, and we'll put, like I said, some rust preventative over top of it. Get rid of the rust first, and then apply the rust check, and then paint it as well with some acid etch primer, and then the whole thing will get undercoated with some Raptor liner. I can see here this part of the car has been replaced. It looks like a decent repair. It's some thick steel here into this part of the frame rail, all right, where the subframe attaches to this stud. This needs some major work on both sides, more so this one, but same with here. And the wheel wells just in general need a lot of work, so those will all be stripped down. And once we get all, like, there's Bondo there, there's been a patch there of Bondo, so we'll see what's under that. Once it's all cleaned right down to bare metal, it will be a lot easier to tell what needs working and what doesn't, what needs metal, what doesn't. And yeah, it'll just be easier once everything's cleaned up. But again, this section looks like some pretty thick steel was applied here, so we'll strip that down as well, see what it looks like, and see if there's any work that needs to be added there. And then the rockers, obviously those are terrible, so those need to be redone. Brake lines, fuel lines, not sure what I'm doing there yet, but that will come later. And then the trunk section, this seems to be all pretty solid. It's gonna get stripped down anyways. We'll see what it looks like underneath, but it looks like it's been heavily undercoated. That should be all right. Here where the seam meets this section here to the trunk, that needs some care for sure, so that will all be stripped down and sprayed with the rust preventative and welded or whatever it needs. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this teardown of the 240. Hopefully this car will be a car, an actual car, and a good looking one by summertime. That might be pushing it, but I'm really hoping this thing is somewhat ready for the motor to go in and maybe driving at some point this summer. So yeah, definitely subscribe. Let me know, give me some ideas what I should do with this car as well while I'm stripped down to pretty much nothing here. Restoration wise, or parts I should get for this car, or yeah, anything like that. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.